तो स्टूडेंट्स हमारा नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन है, व्हाट इज़ द फंक्शन ऑफ डाइजेस्टिव एंजाइम। डाइजेस्टिव एंजाइम का फंक्शंस क्या क्या है। Digestive enzyme helps in the breakdown of complex food particles into simpler soluble forms that can easily be absorbed by body cells for further yielding energy or for growth and maintenance. The enzymes helps in the digestion process in the following ways. Carbohydrate digesting enzymes, ये फर्स्ट पॉइंट है स्टूडेंट, इसका सब पॉइंट। Carbohydrate digesting enzymes such as salivary amylase helps in digesting carbohydrates into glucose. The protein digesting enzyme such as pepsin, trypsin, etc. help in digesting proteins into amino acid. The fat digesting enzyme helps in digesting fats into fatty acids and glycerol. Next question is students, how is the small intestine designed to absorb digested food? The inner lining of the small intestine has numerous finger-like projections called villi, which increase the surface area for absorption. The villi are richly supplied with blood vessels which take the absorbed food from each and every cell of the body. Next question is students, what advantage over an aquatic organism does a terrestrial organism have with regards to obtaining oxygen for respiration? The terrestrial organisms use the oxygen in the atmosphere while aquatic organisms use oxygen dissolved in water. Since the amount of dissolved oxygen is fairly low as compared to the amount of oxygen in the air, therefore the rate of breathing is much faster than that seen in terrestrial organism. The other advantage to terrestrial organism is that they have much easier access to obtain oxygen. What are the different ways in which glucose is oxidized to provide energy in various organisms? Glucose is broken down first into pyruvate in the cytoplasm. This step is same in all organisms. This step is known as glycolysis, and some amount of energy is also released during this step. Further breakdown of pyruvate takes place in the following ways. In yeast, it is the absence of oxygen. Pyruvate is broken down into ethanol, carbon dioxide, and some amount of energy is also released. In muscle cells, due to lack of oxygen, pyruvate is broken down into lactic acid and some amount of energy is also released. In most of the aerobic organisms, in the presence of oxygen, pyruvate is broken down into carbon dioxide, water, and large amount of energy is also released. This aerobic respiration takes place in the mitochondria of cells and is called Krebs cycle. Krebscycle. How is oxygen and carbon dioxide transported in human beings? In human beings, the air passage in lungs divide into very small tubes with blind sac-like structures called alveoli. These alveoli provide a surface where the exchange of gases can take place. The walls of the alveoli contains an extensive network of blood vessels. The blood brings carbon dioxide from the rest of the body for release into the alveoli, while the oxygen is taken up by the blood for transportation to all the cells in the body. Human blood contains respiratory pigments called hemoglobin, which has very high affinity for oxygen. This hemoglobin takes up oxygen from the air into the lungs and carries it to the tissues which are deficient in oxygen before releasing it. The carbon dioxide is more soluble in water as compared to oxygen and is hence mostly transported in the dissolved form in human blood. How are the lungs designed in human beings? To maximize the area for exchange of gases. The trachea divides into bronchi, which enters the lungs. In the lungs, the bronchi divided into smaller tube called bronchioles, which finally terminate into balloon-like structures called alveoli. These alveoli provides a large surface area where the exchange of gases can take place. The walls of alveoli contains an extensive network of blood vessels for easy exchange of gases. How is food transported in plants? Food is transported in dissolved forms through phloem. This process is known as translocation. What are the components of the transport system in human beings? What are the functions of these components? Heart pumps the blood. Blood vessels. Arteries to distribute blood. Veins to collect blood. Capillaries for exchange of nutrients between blood and tissues. Third point blood and fourth lymph and tissue fluid. Why is it necessary to separate oxygenated and deoxygenated blood in mammals and birds? They have higher energy because they have higher energy requirements for maintaining their body temperature. This is possible only if oxygenated and deoxygenated blood remain separated. What are the components of the transport system in highly organized plants? Answer is xylem, for moving water and minerals obtained from soil. Phloem transports products of photosynthesis from the leaves where they are synthesized to other parts of the plant. Next question is, students, how are water and mineral transported in plants? They are transported in dissolved form through xylem elements. For this process, transpiration helps in the absorption and upward movement of water and minerals from roots to the leaves. Describe the structure and functioning of nephrons. Structure of nephron. The filtration units in the kidney are called nephrons. Each kidney has a large number of nephrons which are packed close together. Nephrons consist of a cup-shaped structure called a Bowman's capsule, in which a cluster of a very thin-walled blood capillaries from glomerulus. This cup-shaped structure is followed by the long tabular structure, which is convoluted, twisted, and finally leads to the collecting duct. Functioning of nephrons. Nephrons helps in filtering nitrogenous waste from the blood. This blood entering the glomerulus contains waste which are filtered in the Bowman's capsule. The filtrate formed may contain some useful substances such as glucose, amino acids, salts, and a major amount of water. These are selectively reabsorbed as the urine flows along the tube. The amount of water reabsorbed depends on how much excess water there is in the body and how much of dissolved waste there is to be excreted. Next, question number 21 is, students, what are the methods used by plants to get rid of excretory products? The oxygen which is produced during the process of photosynthesis gets removed through stomata. The carbon dioxide which is produced during the process of respiration also gets removed through stomata. The excess of water gets removed through transpiration. Some other waste gets removed along with dead cells when plants loses some parts such as leaves. Some waste products are stored in cellular vacuoles. Next, some waste products are stored as resins and gums, especially in old xylem. Plants also excrete some waste substances into soil around them. Some waste substances are also eliminated through petals, fruits, and seeds. Next question is, students, how is amount of urine produced regulated? The amount of urine produced is regulated by the selective reabsorption in the tubule of nephron as urine flows along the tube. The amount of water reabsorbed depends on how much excess of water is there in the body and on how much of dissolved waste is there which is to be excreted. How are fats digested in our bodies? Where does this process takes place? Fats are digested in small intestine. The secretion of the liver and the pancreas helps in this process. Since the food coming from the stomach is acidic, therefore it has to be made alkaline for the pancreatic enzyme to act. Bile juice from the liver not only helps in the digestion of fats in the following ways. Bile salt break down large fat globules into smaller ones by the proper enzyme action. Pancreas secrete lipids for breaking down emulsified fats. The glands present in the walls of the small intestine secrete intestinal juice containing lipids, which finally converts fats into fatty acids and glycerol. What is the role of saliva in the digestion of food? The saliva helps in thoroughly mixing of food. The saliva helps in thoroughly mixing of food, which further helps in the easy movement of food in the food pipe as well as in the alimentary canal. The saliva contains an enzyme called salivary amylase, which helps in the breakdown of starch to give maltose, a simple sugar. What are the necessary conditions for autotrophic nutrition? What are its byproducts? First, इसके 4 byproducts है, students: chlorophyll to trap solar energy, availability of light, carbon dioxide, and water. The byproduct of autotrophic nutrition are molecular oxygen and water. What are the differences between aerobic and anaerobic respiration? Name some organisms that uses aerobic and anaerobic respiration. स्टूडेंट्स ये बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है. पहले मैं एरोबिक रीड करूंगा, उसके बाद में मैं एनारोबिक रीड करूंगा. इट अकर्स इन द प्रेजेंस ऑफ ऑक्सीजन. ये पहला एरोबिक है स्टूडेंट्स. इट अकर्स इन द प्रेजेंस ऑफ ऑक्सीजन. द फर्स्ट स्टेप कॉल्ड glycolysis occurs in the cytoplasm, and the second step called Krebs cycle occurs in the mitochondria. The end products are carbon dioxide and water. Next है students anaerobic respiration. It occurs in the absence of oxygen. The complete process occurs in cytoplasm. The end products are alcohol or lactic acid. ये एरोबिक रेस्पिरेशन का है. कंसिडरेबल अमाउंट ऑफ एनर्जी इज प्रोड्यूस्ड बाय द ऑक्सीडेशन ऑफ वन मॉलिक्यूल ऑफ ग्लूकोज ड्यूरिंग दिस प्रोसेस. और ये इसके पास में ये एनारोबिक रेस्पिरेशन का स्टूडेंट्स. मच लेस एनर्जी इज रिलीज्ड ड्यूरिंग दिस प्रोसेस बाय द ऑक्सीडेशन ऑफ वन मॉलिक्यूल ऑफ ग्लूकोज. The organism that use the anaerobic mode of respiration are certain types of bacteria and yeast. Question number 27, the students. How are alveoli designed to maximize the exchange of gases? Inside the lungs, the air passage divides into smaller and smaller tubes which finally terminate in balloon-like structure called alveoli. This alveoli contains an extensive network of blood vessels and in this way provide a large surface where the exchange of gases can take place. Next question is students, question number 28. What would be the consequences of a deficiency of hemoglobin in our bodies? The hemoglobin is the respiratory pigment which has a very high affinity for oxygen and helps in the easier transport of oxygen to the cells and tissues. The deficiency of hemoglobin can cause anemia. Describe double circulation in human beings. Why it is necessary? Students, ये बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है डबल सर्कुलेशन. ये हमने पहले नोट्स में भी पढ़ा हुआ है. जितने भी क्वेश्चन आंसर है स्टूडेंट्स हम पहले से नोट्स में पढ़ चुके हैं. फिर भी बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स को डाउट्स होता है, इसलिए मैंने एनसीईआरटी क्वेश्चन आंसर की भी सॉल्यूशन की भी ये बनाई है वीडियोस. द ब्लड फ्लोज ट्वाइस थ्रू द हार्ट and it is called double circulation. The blood from all body parts is brought to the right auricle which pumps it into right ventricle. From right ventricle, blood is pumped to lungs for oxygenation. The oxygenated blood from lungs is brought to left auricle which pumps it into left ventricle. From the left ventricle, oxygenated blood is distributed to all parts of the body through largest artery called aorta. Aorta. Importance of double circulation. Double circulation not only allows a highly efficient supply of oxygen to the body, but it also helps in meeting the high energy needs. This high energy is mainly required to maintain the constant body temperature. Next, students, question number 30. What are the differences between the transport of materials in xylem and phloem? First मैं xylem read करूँगा, फिर phloem. The xylem elements are mainly responsible for the transportation of water and minerals. The tracheates and vessels element of xylem helps in the upward transportation, that is from roots to stem, leaves and branches. Next, phloem students. The phloem elements are mainly responsible for the transportation of organic food. The sieve tube and companion cells of the phloem help in the translocation of food and other substances. The transport in xylem takes place by using simple physical forces, that is transpiration pull is the major driving force in the movement of water in xylem. Next students, ये phloem का है, both in upward and downward directions. The translocation in phloem is achieved by utilizing energy. Next, last question है students ये chapter का question number 31. Compare the functioning of alveoli in the lungs and nephrons in the kidney with respect to their structure and functioning. Alveoli, balloon-like structures containing an extensive network of blood vessels, helps in the exchange of gases. Nephrons, cup-shaped structure followed by tabule, which also contains a cluster of very thin-walled blood capillaries, separates nitrogenous waste from the blood. स्टूडेंट्स ये चैप्टर फिनिश हो चुका है. नोट्स और इसके क्वेश्चन आंसर सारे इसके टोटल 3 पार्ट्स है, आप हमारे चैनल पर देख सकते हो. ज़्यादा कुछ इतना टफ चैप्टर नहीं है, फिर भी थोड़ी सी प्रैक्टिस करके याद करके आपका ये चैप्टर आराम से क्लियर हो जाएगा. अगर आपको हमारे वीडियो अच्छी लगी तो प्लीज़ इस वीडियो को लाइक करना ना भूलें और हमारे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब ज़रूर करना और बेल आइकन को दबाना ना भूलें. थैंक यू सो मच.